So this is something I never really got a chance to do on my channel yet, to talk about the BlazBlue Central Fiction official setting material collection. And it's specifically the interview that Mori goes over in that interview. Now, this came out on April 20th, 2018. So this was around the time where Cross Tag and BlazBlue Alternative Dark War was pretty much fresh on people's minds. And I'm not going to be talking about that. This is going to be more about what Mori talk about, you know, his time with the series and where he plans to go on next. I'm not going to be going through the whole interview because I'm just going to just pick pieces and, you know, bits and pieces out of what is kind of important, the more important parts. So Mori did express some stuff about, you know, he was wondering, it's like, yeah, some people, you know, overstayed in the series, you know, stayed in the series for a while. They've pretty much gotten tired and become unable to follow it. And so he really didn't know where to end it. So he said, I'm just going to split it here, right? So for everyone else to understand the story properly, at this point, all you need to know is Calamity Trigger, Continuum Shift, Chronophantasma, Essential Fiction, which boils down to the C series, which is Rocking the Story. And so pretty much, you know, Mori's trying to bundle all that together in order to get people, you know, the ability to even read it properly. I'm not gonna lie, since that's BlazBlue all up to this point, you know, it reminds me of that whole thing where, like, Tetsuya Nomura was talking about Kingdom Hearts. It's like, oh, well, all these games at this point were just the Dark Seeker saga. I'm like, it's that exact same thing. There was, like, no, this wasn't even, like, planned out. Like, it's like, oh, well, all these games start with the letter C. Now it's the C series. But, yeah, there's that. He was also talking about the stuff that, hinting afterwards. He was talking about the scene with Rachel, with, you know, the scene with Rachel and Tsubaki. He was talking about Carl peeking to the boundary, and said there were things that he wanted to do from the very beginning. Like, those were things that he pretty much thought out and led up, even though I don't believe him. He's also, you know, hinting at some things like, oh, what happened to Jin and Tsubaki's relationship? Was Kagura able to get together with Noelle? And he was also talking about some other interpersonal relationships like that. And he thought that it was pretty much tactless for him to write it, so he left it up to the user's imagination. So, you know, he says, when writing the next story, there are things that have to be depicted no matter what I think, but I also mean to invite a presentation that leaves room for the imagination. So, the funny thing, he actually brought up about, you know, Kagura's, like, you know, joke crush on Noelle, and the fact that he actually brought that up made me think he's going to go somewhere with it. And Jin and Tsubaki's relationship, which he did say before that he was planning to put it in Central Fiction, but he thought it was, like, you know, too insignificant, so he just left it out. So, so he also talked about the Azure, and he says, I hear from the users, what sort of thing is the Azure in the end? But if I answer that, the BlazBlue series itself will end. So basically saying, oh, if he tells what the Azure is, the series is over. He's like, oh no, if I tell you what the Azure is, the series is completely over. So for the time being, I don't mean to say it. The main story explained the power to make possibilities possible. So for now, please understand, and we'll leave it at that. As for various other doubts you may have in the future, when the time comes, they will be explained. I'm still sitting here like I'm looking out for an interview that's almost 2 years old, and I'm just starving for any kind of info. The interviewee asked, in the course of writing the story for the C series, was there anything in particular that you struggled with? Mori says, first, since it's a fighting game within the story itself, it had to be that the characters cannot die. So I'm going to like, you know, break that theory. Like, there's just characters that have died in fighting games before. There have been, and, you know, they never show up ever again. And I just feel like this was kind of an excuse just to keep all the characters spread around, you know, junk like that. I don't know. I just speculating here. Anyway, back to the interview. He said, this narrowed the breadth of what could be done and proved to be quite difficult. Exceptionally, New and Lambda were characters that have each died once in the story, and personally, I didn't want to revive them. But these two characters alone were very popular, and to have them reappear in some form for the sake of the users, I thought as hard as I could about a reason. And as for CF, the volume of the story had already increased too much, so I had to tearfully remove a few scenes. So the whole Lambda and New thing he's talking about, like, he didn't want to revive them. He didn't have to revive them, honestly. Like, the fact that the characters died off in the first place, honestly, just could have left them dead. Especially New. Like Liz, she should have just stayed dead. I'm gonna keep saying that. New should have stayed dead. Lambda, well, I mean, same. You know, I like Lambda more, but same thing. She should have stayed dead. You know, and I'm like hell. Did this more just keep him around because he just wanted to reuse their character their character sprites because like making a bunch of new ones would be painful, so they already have the ones made. That's my guess. I don't know. I'm definitely speculating here, but that's my guess to why he kept them around. I was like, I just want to reuse their sprites. There's no way of me just redoing it. Oh man. The interviewer asked, as for these removed scenes, do you have any examples of what they were? So this is something I talked about before, and Mori actually talks about Relius. And this is something I actually talked about before. Mori says, first, quite a few centered around Relius were removed. He was actually secretively acting all over the place, and if we were to include all of them, then the volume of the story would have almost doubled, so we couldn't put them in. Homura Amano Hokasaka was also quite a good character, and I wanted to concentrate on and write more about their ties with Kagura and their connection with Tenjo, but it wasn't a huge influence on Ragna, who was the foundation of the story. The ones about Izanami of the few remaining stories were also taken out. There were also ones surrounding Sector 7 with many things I wanted to dig out and talk about, but in the end, the C series focuses on Ragna as the main character, so those were the only superficially related were removed. So, see, this what kind of gets me. So, like, it's because, like, I get that the story is about Ragna. Okay, fair enough. He's the main character, but like, I swear Mori didn't have to like. I get like the whole thing of CF was supposed to be really based on Ragna, but there was honestly some scenes that he could just put in there. Like, really, like I understand that you're trying to put too much, but like scenes like Homura. You know, considering the fact they put a lot of emphasis on Homura and Chronophantasma, him being the Imperator, and him, you know, somewhat important to Kagura and Bang's story, I honestly don't know why he left Homura out, especially the ones with Izanami, considering the fact that Izanami dies in CF. So, like, there was like, honestly, something about Izanami could have been kept in, really. Like, Izanami's going to die in this game, we're never going to see her again, really. So, yeah, you could have kept Izanami in. Sector 7, I can understand that being left out, because Sector 7 really wasn't, you know, it's important, but it wasn't important to CF in a way. But Izanami, Tenjo, and Homura, their scenes could have been left in. And Relius definitely could have, but since Relius said, like, literally the whole story could have been doubled in length if Relius wasn't moving around, I guess he's going to leave that for BlazBlue 5. And I hope that he carries over at least the Homura stuff, because Homura Amano Hokasaka didn't get nothing. Really, the kid's been really ignored despite being the new Imperator. You know, I feel like someone, the freaking leader of the practical leader of the world, should get at least more, you know, story stuff. So there was talking more about phase shift. He was talking about the stuff he supervised, and like, you know, like stuff like phase shift, like other media, like the novels, the light novels, the manga, etc., etc. Mori says supervising was a lot of work, but I'm thankful for the talk about mixed media, and I had fun working on it. The episodes that couldn't make it into the game and that were tearfully removed exist even before this, and were given an opportunity to be covered again after being cut out of the main work. The Phase Shift series were collected from various episodes due to circumstances surrounding the volume and such, difficult to include in the main work, but were intriguing. For Bloodedge Experience, Naoto plays an extremely important role in Central Fiction, and I'm satisfied we were able to properly tie him in with the main work. Of course, the comics Remix Heart and Variable Heart also form a much-loved series, especially Variable Heart. Mei Fang, Lapis Lazuli, was a character who had a plan the whole time, but wasn't able to carry it out, and it was nice to let her live and act more than originally imagined. See, the sad thing about this whole BlazBlue mixed media thing is that I know that Mori said he couldn't really fit some of the stuff that he really wanted to fit in the main series, but most of the media is something that, you know, I mean, I understand, you know, BlazBlue was a Japanese series only, but that's the sad thing about it. I mean, if you're going through the trouble of, like, you know, having the series being localized, which is not even handled by, you know, Arxis himself, like, you know, Axis handled the localization before all this, it's just sad that some of this stuff is kind of relegated to, like I wish, like, if Arxis is now handling the localization, I kind of wish they would translate and localize and bring their stuff over. You know, maybe they don't have the authorization to do that. I don't know. You know, you tell me. But I feel as though they can easily just bring this stuff over. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, man, you got like Bloodedge Experience, you got Phase Shift that half of them aren't even translated. The only thing you're able to access easier is Remix Heart / Variable Hearts, but it doesn't have, as far as I remember, it doesn't have an official translation. You know, fan translations of it, and I don't know if it has an official one. I don't keep up with Variable Heart and Remix Heart enough to do it. I know Variable Heart is still being translated, so there's that. Mori also continues to talk about Mei Fang. He says, Mei Fang was a character who chose the wrong methods, but was still understandable. I like the contemplative villains, and to be worthy of the villain's role, I felt that she had to have depth. Joker from the movie The Dark Knight was a villain I really appreciated, and he had a large influence in the BlazBlue series scenario. Originally, Teremy was written to be absolutely evil as an exception. There would be no margin for sympathy, as it was decided from the beginning to write him to be refreshingly evil. So yeah, I remember this whole thing that, Mori went to the whole trouble. It's like, Teremy and Hanzama, they're supposed to be evil without sympathy at all. They're supposed to be completely and utterly evil. That's their whole role, etc., etc. Mori also said, for BlazBlue, we wanted the story to be fun for those who weren't interested in it as a fighting game. So we included with all our might both serious and gag stories. Those who eagerly read even the most detailed backstories were actually quite many, especially those who put their own work in. After that, there was consideration to not make the story too heavy. From before, when this drama CD, The Wheel of Fortune, was released, we heard quite a few voices saying the story is too heavy. Being able to not pull too hard on the viewer's heartstrings while still bringing excitement and creating a movie story would be nice, I think. So, I know Mori still has. I forgot about drama CDs too. Yeah, he has to put all this stuff in drama CDs and the mangas, and I know Mori has a lot of story to go on, but moderation, and the fact that this is a Japanese interview that no one outside Japan really is going to get access to officially. That's what kind of sucks about BlazBlue, like other media. One thing that sucks. I know, it's just. There's no ability to get out here, I gotta look up wikis and hear what other people gotta say just to get info about this. It sucks, and I really do want to know more about this stuff. I want have more content to talk about. But the only thing we really have regarding BlazBlue in the West is the games that actually have been localized by ArcSys themselves. Is the games, just the first 4 games, and X-Blaze. And X-Blaze is more or less not even tied to BlazBlue in that way, so localizing X-Blaze seemed kind of like a waste, not gonna lie. You got the manga who needs an official release and the light novels, which is something, at least. But X-Blaze honestly could have been left in Japan. I'm gonna be real about that one. He goes over to talk about alternative Dark War. It says, and this is about Cross-Tag. Not going to talk about that because Cross-Tag is already out. We already know about this. There's no point in talking about it. So he actually talked about alternative Dark War in his interview. He says, within the gradually expanding world of the BlazBlue series, there are many stories I wanted to tell, but console games weren't suited for it, including many short stories. So what we planned for this new challenge was Dark War. It's an adventure game like X-Blaze with branching choices, but what I wanted to do in particular was to have a singular storyline visible throughout, while including many digressing sub-stories. To make an adventure game, I thought about which one is the main story, and considering making it somewhat fluffy. But since this type of expression is suited to smartphone RPGs, I made a decision. It's you could have honestly put this in game form. I already know he was making Dark War 4. Mori just wants to flex on his stories, extra stories, and make some money on the side. These freaking smartphone games in Japan make bank, okay? And it's going to make bank. And so not only is it going to make bank, it's going to get a lot more people into BlazBlue this way. Just like Grand Blue Fantasy. Grand Blue Fantasy had nothing to work off of. It was already a mobile game from the start. And, browser, mobile game, whatever. And then it branched off into the anime. It branched off into games like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and it's coming out with Relink. And then you got, other media. I think there's a manga out there and some light novels. BlazBlue Alternative Dark War, when it ever does come out, and if it plays well, it's going to make bank. Stuff like Fate Grand Order introduced a bunch of people to the mobile game, and then it introduced them to the animes and all the other mixed media out there. And Fate makes bank. Okay, these mobile games make bank, and I feel like that's the only reason they're gonna make this smartphone. Mori gets to throw his stories in, and they get to make money off of it. The BlazBlue Alternative Dark War is gonna make money. I could feel it now. I can just feel it now. The interviewer asked, as a story, does it have a position to be a proper sequel for the BlazBlue series? And, obviously, Mori's going to say, rather than a proper sequel, it's more of a new story with BlazBlue with CL Sulphur as the main character. That sort of nuance. By that way, I think several sharp people have already made a realization about CL's mantle. For the meaning behind that, please look forward to playing the game. Now, keep in mind, Alternative Dark World was announced around the time Cross Tag was. Around that time. I think it was before. It was February something. I think, yeah, it was around February. So it's been about 3, like, it's not even been like 3 years. It's almost been about 3 years. Almost 3 years since this game's been announced, and it's ridiculous. Oh my god. Like, it's not even about 3, it's like about 2, but it's getting close to 3, and I'm like, dude, and this interview came out in April 2018, dude. Like, are you kidding me? Please look forward to playing the game. Yeah, how long does it take you guys to make a freaking mobile phone game, man? Like, people can crank out these mobile games like it's nothing, dude. Y'all ain't even started yet. I'm gonna rip on Alternative Dark War. I'm gonna keep doing it. The interviewer asked, I'm sorry for the release. Then about the other character stories, for example, what kind of people will appear? Mori says, characters who, up until now, were not given the spotlight shall be gradually featured, I think. First is Hazama. Terumi had a large role in CF, but I think not much of Hazama has been seen. He played a supporting role, and I think he was a meaningful character, but from the moment he began to walk his own path, for better or for worse, he began to meddle in all sorts of affairs. Having created good characters, including Kazuma and Terumi, I wanted to create a proper place for them to stand in the story. Then there's Platinum, whose relationship with the girl wearing a large bell that appeared in Variable Heart is still untold in some places. And it's one thing I like to write about. There's also Bullet and Hibiki as well, and characters I personally like and wanted to give spotlight to. And Mei Fang, as well as Mai's father Hoichiro, and so on. And characters that weren't able to appear in the main works that I like to see, I think. So Mori pretty much is using Alternative Dark War to, give, like, the characters who didn't really get any springtime in the main series. He wants to make Alternative Dark War pretty much about them. If you ever seen it, you see Raquel, Trinity, like, those are characters that really didn't get that much screen time, and they're on the front face. And considering the fact that characters like Hibiki and Bullet were like the first characters Mori drew for Alternative Dark War, I get what he's going for. He also says, Mori also says, there's still a lot to be told that hasn't been covered in the main works, novels, comics, and such that have been released up until now. For example, what happened to Tsubaki. Now, he's talking about how, Tsubaki behind the tree, in the end of CF. How Selka felt during the time she was acting as sister. The episodes that everyone's curious about are planned to be gradually included. If it's talk about, I don't know what will be implemented, but in any case, it will be what I personally want. Then first will probably be a spotlight on Lin-Hwa's story. Lychee went on something like a first errand, leaving Lin-Hwa to wait nervously for her. It feels like, actually, those who would have stood in the way of Lychee's journey were sent flying by Lin-Hwa, and then Mori laughs. And then Mori's actually talking more about Lin-Hwa, which I'm surprised he actually gets more, I'm surprised Lin-Hwa is actually getting talked about, because, she's, been, such an ignored character, and I'm glad he's actually talking about her. He says, actually, it's been decided that she's actually quite strong. She wasn't able to become playable in the C series, but she is surprisingly strong, and it's a side of her that I'd like to be able to show. Then there's the story beginning from the Dark War, continuing after the Phase series, up until the Ikaruga Civil War. What could have happened in that time is something that people are interested in. Living in that age as a witness was Kokonoe, and if it was wanted, the story would take form of her pursuit of knowledge across that landscape. From the age of the Dark War, other people including Jubei and Relius, but for Jubei being the main character is also difficult, while Relius fell into the cauldron and jumped through time, leaving him in a somewhat ambiguous situation. Falling into the cauldron makes time ambiguous. And since it's easy to forget that you can leap both to the past and to the future, let's just emphasize this point. Anyway, I want to make stories about time periods that everyone's interested in. How the duodecim was created, what exactly is Sector 7, what sort of existence is the Mitsurugi agency that appears in X-Blaze. I think there are still many mysteries remaining that I want to properly disclose. And yeah, thank you, Mori. I do want to know more about the Mitsurugi agency. He's pretty much bringing up stories that I wasn't able to tell in the main game how their creation was. But in order for Mori to do this, Alternative Dark War is going to have to be canon. And we already know Alternative Dark War is going to be canon. Mori can alt anything he wants. he can make BlazBlue alternative central fiction, but it's going to be canon. I kid you not, it will be. So I'm getting near to the end of the interview that actually matters with the stuff, and Mori's talking about the gameplay and what else is going to happen. Mori says, please look forward to the battle system. Up until now, the BlazBlue series chased after the fun-ended combos left from pursuing the execution of highly unique combos. For those who love fighting games, I want to win with this technique forms an aesthetic shared among many, isn't it? In Dark War as well, it's not just wanting to win against the opponent, but winning in a way that can be admired, this sort of system. Also, an auto battle option will definitely be included. The feeling of labor that accompanies increasing one level is an element that will be included no matter what. But whether or not this part isn't truly enjoyable to focus on, I think it's better to be able to enjoy the other parts as well. As for BlazBlue's ending, what and how far it will go, and the goal of the series as a whole, that sort of destination hasn't been settled on yet. The current end goal is to follow the story with CL as the main character properly to its end. Now, he's only talking about CL as the main character of Alternative Dark War. For that purpose, Dark War cannot afford to fail, but in any case, we're working hard. So that's pretty much the whole, the whole important stuff in the interview. It's leaning on there's gonna be more media, or he's either gonna make more media, or he's gonna pretty much throw all of it into Alternative Dark War, which, as I said before, still isn't even. We don't even know what the game. We know that there was a pre-registration for it, but other than that, that's it. That's honestly it. We don't know what the hell's going on. We don't know what the gameplay looks like. All we know is the pre-registration and your player characters and what some of the characters look like in art form and what Mori has drawn. That's pretty much it. We haven't seen anything else, and it kind of bugs me because I'm still sitting here waiting. But other than that, that was the interview. At least the important parts of it. We learned a little something about Mei Fang and Alternative Dark War stuff. He's talking more about remix art and variable art, other mixed media, etc., etc. So without further ado, I am getting the hell up out of here.